Okay, about the payroll. Payroll basically means the list of all employees and what they are being paid. For example, we are supposed to pay to employee A $50, employee B $30, employee C $10. Total we have to pay $90. This list basically is called as payroll, and payroll is one of the function of the human resource department. What payroll function has to do? First of all, obligation to pay wages. So whatever wages and salaries they are supposed to pay to the employee, first they have to do all the documentation for that. Then they have to do all the calculations, and then they actually have to pay as per the calculation. Secondly, the most important one, tax collection on behalf of government. Now government, what basically they do, they tell to the businesses or to the employers that whoever employees are working in your organization, whenever you are about to pay them salary, deduct the tax from their salary, which we call income tax, deduct from their salary and then pay it to the tax authority. So employers basically collect taxes on behalf of the government. So in this concept, we can say that all our employer or businesses, they are acting as an agent of government to collect tax from their employees and then pay it to the government or to the tax authority. In UK, the name of the tax authority is HMRC, Her Majesty Revenue and Customs. After this, employer duties, first of all, operate the income tax system in the organization, means that employer is supposed to deduct tax at source. What is the meaning of tax deduction at source? That whenever employer is paying salary, so on the spot while paying the salary, he is supposed to deduct tax from the salary of the employee. And any amount of tax that we deduct from the salary or wages of employee is called income tax. Second, maintain the necessary records about the employees. Now we can have, for example, lots of different data we need to hold about the employee. For example, the name, age, contact number, address, salary. After that, then the contract with the employee, the CV of the employee, and all these documents are important to maintain. Pay the income tax to the authorities. So when employer deduct tax at source, after that they are supposed to pay it to the tax authorities, and in UK the tax authority is HMRC. 4, let the authorities inspect the records. Now authorities basically has the right that they can visit the organization anytime between the year and they can inspect all the employees related records. And why they need to inspect that? Just to make sure that employer is deducting sufficient tax or correct amount of tax from the employees' wages and salaries. Then submit end of year returns, that employer, whatever amount he is deducting from the wages and salaries of the employees, then he need to make payment to the tax department, along he need to file the tax forms and tax returns as well. 6, give employees pay slips detailing tax and benefit contribution deducted. This is the responsibility of the employer, that whenever he is about to pay salary or wages to the employee, so he need to show all the calculation for each and every employee right on their pay slips. And last, maintain records for at least 3 years minimum. This is compulsory, that if tax department, for example, decided to visit the employer, so they have the right that they can ask for any number of documents related to the payroll for the previous 3 years. They do not have right to ask for more than 3 years, but at least 3 years of the records should be maintained by the employer. After this, payroll processing basically what things we need to consider. First of all, accuracy. Whatever calculations we are doing, we have to make sure to do it correctly. Second, timeliness. Pay salaries and wages on time, as well as whatever documents you are producing related to the payroll, you need to produce it on timely basis. So if you are paying salary at the end of the month, at the same time you are supposed to produce the documents related to payroll. What is the most common document is the payroll slip that you have to give to your employee, and copies you have to keep in your business as well. And then securities, make it sure to maintain the confidentiality while you are processing the payroll. This is also very important. After that, most of the organization, they withdraw cash from the bank and then they pay their salaries to the employee. So they have to make sure that maintain the physical controls over the cash while they withdraw cash for wages and salaries from the bank. After that, pay the salaries to the employee. What salaries we actually pay to the employee? Let me write down the formula here, because this we have to refer. First of all, there is a basic pay of the employee. Now the basic pay can be on hourly basis, on monthly basis, or can be on piece work system. But there will be an X amount of the basic pay, for example, $100. Then in this basic pay, sometime we give benefits to the employees based on performance. What can be the benefits? For example, the benefits can be, we are paying bonus to the employees. We are giving different sort of allowances to the employee. What can be the allowances? For example, home allowance or home rent allowance, medical allowance, traveling allowance, entertainment allowance, and so on. And sometimes we also pay commission to the employees. For example, this employee does not have bonus or allowance, but we have to pay $20 of commission. We will add these two, and this is what we called gross pay. Now, gross pay basically is the pay that is total earned by the employee in a period. But gross pay is not the actual amount that employee will receive. From this gross pay, then we have to make some deductions. Okay, so what are the deductions? Basically, there are two types of deductions. Statutory deductions, government, any deductions that is required by government, and these are compulsory deductions. So in statutory deductions, we can have, for example, income tax. We have to deduct income tax from the employee salary. So here the total gross pay was $120. Income tax we deducted at source $10. Then after that, we can also have non-statutory deductions. Non-statutory deductions which are optional basically, which are not required by the government, but based on the understanding. For example, one is very common, which we call payee, pay as you earn. This is basically pension scheme that employer will deduct some amount each and every month from the salary of employee, and upon the retirement or resignation of employee, then employer will give a lump sum amount to the employee. Or it can be save as you earn. For example, employee want to buy a house, so every month employer will deduct some amount from the employee, and when they will have sufficient amount, so he will pay lump sum to the employee, so that employee can buy the house, for example. So house schemes or medical benefit scheme or children education and so on. So for example, he is not having any say scheme or save as you earn scheme, but pay we need to make deduction of $30, for example. So total deduction $40, gross pay is $120. So this is what we called net pay of the employee. So 120 minus 40 will be $80. This $80 basically what we called as take home pay. This is the amount of money that employee will collect in cash or will receive in cash. Alright, so